For some, it was a slow growth, especially when compared to the same period in the year 2021. The National Bureau of Statistics revealed that the Nigerian economy expanded by 3.54% in the second quarter of the year 2022. Hello and welcome to Business Daily on your channel of choice, Trust TV. This is your one-stop program for all the relevant facts and analysis you need to know in the world of business, finance, investment, and the straits of the economy. I am your host, Christiana Amodu Otinya. Thank you for joining us. The Nigerian economy continued on a positive trajectory, growing for the 7th consecutive quarter since the COVID-19 induced recession recorded in the third quarter of the year 2022. The growth recorded in the past 2 years is following significant expansionary monetary policies by the Central Bank of Nigeria, keeping the MPR at 11.5% at that time. However, due to rising cost of goods and services, with inflation rate already at 17-year high of 19.64% in the month of July 2022, the Apex Bank raised the interest rate to 14% in a bid to curb rising prices. I will be joined by an economic analyst in the course of today's program, Dr. Emmanuel Shaibu. He will be dissecting these numbers and will also get into the meat of the matter on basically how do we ensure that the growth that is being recorded translate into economic reality. He would be looking at these numbers for us and also speaking from the prism of an economic watcher and someone who closely follows the Nigerian economy. I will hold my fire here and take a short breather. When I return, the program continues. Please stay. Welcome back and thank you for still staying there with us on the program. This is still Business Daily, of course, coming to you on Trust TV. I am now being joined virtually from Plateau State by my guest, Dr. Emmanuel Shaibu. He's an economic analyst and he is joining the program from Plateau State. He's joining me to speak to some of these numbers we have seen coming from the National Bureau of Statistics, talking about the second quarter GDP report. Welcome to the program, Dr. Ide.
Good morning. Pleasure to join you live from Plateau State.
Thank you for joining us on the program. Just before we get into the crux of the matter, we'll put together some key takeaways from the GDP report that we saw coming from the NBS. Now, the Nigerian gross domestic product, Dr. So we'll take a look at these numbers together. The Nigerian gross domestic product grew by 3.54% in the second quarter of the year 2022. Now, aggregate real GDP stood at 17.29 trillion naira in the quarter on the review. Agriculture sector accounted for 23.24% of the aggregate GDP, and increased demand compared to 22.36% recorded in previous quarter. The industrial sector contributed 19.4%, while services accounted for 57.35%. The oil sector dipped 11.77% year-on-year in Q2 2022 compared to a contraction of 26.04%. The sector contributed 6.33% to total real GDP in Q2 2022. The non-oil sector, on the other hand, grew by 4.77% in real terms, while the non-oil sector contributed 93.67%. The sector was driven in the second quarter of 2022 mainly by information and communications, talking about telecommunication, trade, financial and insurance, financial institutions, transportation, road transport, agriculture, crop production, and manufacturing. Under manufacturing, the segments are food, beverage, and tobacco, according to the positive GDP growth. Now, over to you now, Dr. Emmanuel. I want you to look at these numbers. Basically, a lot of Nigerians are concerned, the Nigerian economy expanded further, grew by 3.54%. Many have tagged this growth a slow growth for the country. That's looking at it vis-a-vis what we saw in other quarters of corresponding periods. I want you to give this number a human face. What does 3.54% mean for my pocket?
Thank you very much. First of all, let's lay a proper foundation. And what is this foundation? The foundation is that the figures being published as our GDP is still very inaccurate. Why do I say so? A lot of businesses in the MSME is being captured in that GDP figure. Most of these businesses are not being regulated, are not being monitored, and because they are not monitored, we cannot get their performance into the aggregate or numbers we are using to calculate the GDP. So a lot of MSMEs are still not captured, and because the GDP figure we are putting out there is not correct, we cannot actually say that these figures are accurate and a reflection of our entirety as a population. Don't forget, if GDP is growing by this percentage that the NBS has published, is it commensurate with the population growth? Those are the things we need to look at, because inflation is on the increase, 19.6. Now, food consumption prices are increased, the amount of feed are on the increase. Mind you, the salaries of civil servants, the salaries of other private servants have not increased. 100,000 that you are earning as of January, same 100,000 in August. Meanwhile, inflation has gone up. And here is a GDP figure that says economy has grown by so number of percentage. The man on the street and I will only appreciate this if the price of a mudu of gari as at January has dropped in June or in July or in August. But if the price of mudu of gari keeps going up, how do I accept that the economy has actually grown? Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria, through the Monetary Policy Committee, to 14% because they saw something. Now, what is the resultant effect? Mind you, it is still the same period that the price of petroleum was increased, electricity tariff increased, now cost of transportation increased. So, if inflation is going up, how did the economy, expand? How did the economy grow? Don't forget also how people in this same economy of time that have not earned salaries, which are the civil servants, especially those lecturers in the universities, in February or March. So that money that they should have gotten that will add to the growth of the economy has been stuck somewhere, of course, because they've not been going to work. So we should not be too happy that an economy is contracting. We should check the growth indices that's being used. Check our production capacity in food, in services, cost of getting services from professionals from one place to the other. How much has our farmers been able to get their products out to sell? So those little indices that you and I that go to the market, we want to be able to relate to it before, for sure, positively or negatively, the economy has grown, because these figures are mere paper figure. It's not reflecting in the standard of living of you and I that are ordinary Nigerians. And that is why the ordinary Nigerian cannot understand and cannot relate when you say the economy has grown, when still food crisis, when the cost of living is high, school fees have gone up, production of consumables have gone up. So we need to situate it properly. And that's why it's not time to jubilate yet. Rather, we should struggle and put in efforts to ensure that our MSMEs are being captured in this that we are brandishing. Don't forget, we are 215 million people according to UNFPA statistics. So these are the things we should grapple with. Of course, one would say maybe MBS doesn't have all the variables, all the information, but of course, over time, we should know that a sector, a large for what GDP is known for, because it's gross domestic product, which is production. It's not being captured. And if it's not being captured, this figure could as well be a small sector of the economy that is used to make this justification.
Dr. Ide, I want to still stick with some of the observations that we have seen you make now. Now, for you, this report is not accurate enough, although those are the NBS who refuse to agree with your stance, talking about the report not being accurate enough. Now, if we have more SMEs captured into the picture, I want you to let me know how much of a significant difference that will make with these figures.
Thank you very much. GDP grew by 3.5%. Now, agriculture sector, I can see grew by 20 something. Now, agriculture is stay as a nation. This administration came on board and did a lot with the rice revolution. Local rice farmers have been able to improve on their production. Consumption of imported rice has reduced, and many people consume local rice now. It's a plus. Don't forget that. But the question I've always asked, is it only rice? How much have we done to corn? How much have we done to millet? How much have we done to granite? How much have we done to guinea corn? It will interest you to know that as of today, we still import corn, we still import groundnut, we still import soya beans, we still import meat into the country from our legally or illegally, because the production, of course, given the crisis between the Ukraine and Russia, we had to find a way to get wheat. Price of bread has gone up. So these are the consumptions that you and I we engage in, that the prices have not come down. And if the prices have not come down, have our salaries gone up? So why would we say the economy has grown? Your indices are easy to measure it. Are you not considering that affects the per capita income of a Nigerian? Because your salary has not increased. If, for instance, you're earning 100,000 in January and this is August, your salary has not gone up. And if it has not gone up, it means you still have salary chasing the same goods at a higher value. If your salary has increased by the percentage of inflation, I would agree with you. But how many organizations have increased their salary by the percentage of inflation that we have in the economy as we speak? So these figures have to be looked at holistically. So for that, the GDP grew 2% and we want to celebrate. Other indices are responsible that affects the life of ordinary Nigerians, which is you and I, before we can say yes, our economy has grown considerably. Mind you, don't forget, we have massive brain drain, capital flight happening in this same economy. And we should not celebrate yet that the economy is growing. That's what I'm saying. There's still a lot of work to be done by everybody that is better than what it is today.
I understand what the point you have rightly stated, Doctor. Of course, it is not Uhuru yet for the nation's economy. Now, I want us to equally look at some of these numbers that have been put out by the National Bureau of Statistics. Now, we have seen that the non-oil sector has significantly stayed as the trailblazer for some time now in the reports that we have seen come out from the National Bureau of Statistics, and that sector is equally doing that in this current report. I want you to assess the performance of the non-oil sector, especially in this Q2 GDP report that we have seen. We are seeing the agriculture sector, the IT sector, telecommunication sector. These sectors have overperformed in this report. What's your assessment?
Yes, not to take the reality off, given where the non-oil sector is in 2015 and where it is today, it has improved considerably. But while it has improved, can we check the leakages that might have happened that made it better than it is? The leakages are enormous, but we have improved. That's the truth. And those sectors have also employed non-formal jobs, giving other small MSMEs to come on board, but more can be done. So if that ICT has improved, given where we were today, it therefore means that if those leakages are blocked, because we want to de-emphasize our reliance on oil to non-oil, which is to say ICT, entertainment, agriculture, tourism, and consultancy, which are not directly related to oil, which is a pointer to the fact that something must have been done that is right, and that is why we have seen this growth. As we are doing this to see growth, it means that the leakages that exist, if they are blocked, it will give more employment, it will give more income, and once there's more employment and more income, it means they will pay taxes. It will increase our tax revenue, either
Dr.
as state
Dr.
or as
Dr. Ideyi,
federal.
let me cut you short here and hold you on your thoughts while you're still speaking on the numbers from the non-oil sector. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, I want you to speak on the elephant in the room, especially in this report talking about Nigeria's oil sector. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly.
That's great.
Welcome back, and thank you for still staying there with us. If you're just joining in, this is Business Daily coming to you from Trust TV. If you're just picking your remote control and tuning into your televisions, thank you for allowing us come into your living rooms. But you have missed some part of the program, but we got you covered. You can go to our social media and you get to see more of conversations around the economy and also this conversation. Now let's bring back our guest. Dr. Ideyi was speaking to the GDP report that we saw come out from the National Bureau of Statistics, talking about the Q2 GDP report. Now, Doctor, you spoke about leakages in the non-oil sector. Now, are there specific sector where you think that we have these persisting more over some other sectors in the non-oil sector, and how they need to be addressed also?
Absolutely, very much. Now, every endeavor that has human beings involved will have leakages. Now, what are the control plots? Now, there's a lot going on in the ICT sector. Computer Village, for instance, in Lagos, Computer Center in various states like Abuja. These people should be regulated. When we mean regulated, we're not saying put a knife on their throat. What we mean that let them understand that government is interested in what they are doing. Do they need road? Do they need constant light? If they have all those things, it will put a little pressure on the cost of running businesses. Now, a lot has to be, even in the printing sector. Now we are getting to a period of campaigns and all that. Then pay taxes. They don't pay because they are not seeing government being part. And how can government be part of their business? Provide security and make sure there is light for them. If there's light, they will pay the bills. They will recharge their NEPA. But when they run generator, which diesel is expensive, and you come, for instance, they will underreport their earnings. They report it, and once they underreport it, it is based on what they give you that they will be charged taxes on. So this leakage of the interest government pays on them. You get most of these reports are those doing the big tickets, and those big tickets, how many of them are there? So these smaller tickets also contributes to the bottom line because it's employing somebody to go to work and it's not making the person crime on the street, he comes back home. Now, if government shows these signs. Number two, how do you block those leakages? If government also makes provision of some kind of grants to them. Presently, there's the Bank of Industry partnering with the World Bank, partnering with Bank of Industry for some grants in some states of the Federation. I can tell you for free. And anybody that is in that system will not allow any record that is fake. So government has all the data to be able to capture. So it reduces leakage. Again, tourism. Have we explored it enough? No, we have not, but we have improved and we can do more. And if this regulation place, it will reduce to the barest minimum leakages. All the people on lockup shops, corner shops that are doing phone repairs, ICT, all those things. What is government providing for them? Some of them have their small generator by the side, so they will report their activity out there on that report. Is a leakage in the system. Meanwhile, they're employing 2-3 people, and these people is because they don't want to stay idle. They also don't want to contribute to the unemployment rate. That's why they are fend for their families, put money in the bank account. Some of them don't even put their monies in the bank account so that you don't get to check their inflow and know whether they are performing or not. These are things that government is fully aware, and they know the measures to put in place with other stakeholders and professionals to be able to monitor their growth so that to help them gather the right data so that we will see that our figures that we are coming out with will be a semblance of something that is quite correct and we can rely on to now do planning and projections.
Doctor, I like the fact that because you just brought in the SMEs that you made mention of at the beginning of the program, talking about how we need to bring a lot of them into the bracket. And when you said the government needs to look at the computer villages scattered around the country, I thought to myself that when Nigerians hear government need to look at something, our mind goes to taxes. Then I also like that you brought in the slant of the fact that a lot of these businesses are local governments unto themselves. They provide their light, they work on their roads if these roads are bad. So it has for this marriage to happen, the government also has to step up to the plate to ensure that some of the challenges faced by these SMEs are equally addressed. And you also spoke to that. I want you to also speak to the big elephant in the room, the oil sector. Now, we know the sector has been a mainstay for as long as we have known it. We understand that the agricultural sector at some point, the glory days of Nigeria, where we had the groundnut pyramids, we had the blooming cocoa farms, whereby we saw Nigeria enjoying real dividends from that sector. Now, the oil sector has seen a setback in this report. Now, talking about the contraction we have seen in this sector, and the NESG, the Nigeria Economic Society, there have been reports upon reports, communiques upon communiques with regards to how we need to address some of the lacunas in the sector. And looking at this Q2 GDP report, there's another, the sector is further deepening down, talking about the contraction seen in the sector. Speak to the numbers from the oil sector.
Thank you very much. First of all, as much as we say we want to advance on the oil sector, have our actions corroborate what we want to do? Because it's one thing to say something, it's another thing to take steps, practical steps to really de-emphasize our reliance on the oil sector. How many modular refineries do we have? Are they functional? How many byproducts of this oil sector reliance have we used? What is our investment? Yes, the PAI bill was passed, signed by the president, and one step he took was to unbundle some of those things, and the NNPC is now NNPC. The truth of the matter is, on to the oil sector, to the non-oil sector, we will still have to depend on the oil sector. Until we give that, I can tell you for free, if we give 50% of the attention that was given to the oil, ICT, agriculture, tourism, entertainment, we will not even see the figures of the oil sector coming anywhere close to what the non-oil sector will do, because the focus would have shifted. It's a deliberate attempt, as it were. But you get to see that we still have crude, we are selling crude, and we are buying refined products. That is also not profitable, and it's not sustainable. Our refineries have not been fixed. So are they even in tune with the current technology that refineries? That is also helping, and we are spending money on maintenances and whatsoever. It's also adding to the cost of keeping them, as it were. Now, for me, I have what we grow the economic nation is still the SMEs. As at best, these MSMEs, maybe 50 million, 100 million, you have them in bits and pieces in locations, and they are doing what's necessary to be done so that we do not wake up one day, we have not given the right attention enough, and possibly the oil would have dried up. Oil will not dry up soon, but the economy of the world has de-emphasized so much emphasis on oil because human capital development is there. The ICT is the innovation in that sector is on an exponential growth. You need to even be aware to meet up with it. Everything has an ICT component in it. So we give the equal attention to this non-oil sector so that whether the oil is doing well or not, we know that we can generate as much as we want from the non-oil sector. But are we paying that so much attention? The oil sector unions are there. They have their powers. They have their stake. But again, until we agree that our refineries are not fixed, and the question is, are they fixable?
Okay,
if they are not fixable,
Doctor, I will need you to round off now quickly. Closing thoughts. Time. We have run out of time. Just 30 seconds.
My closing thought is such that more attention on the oil sector, culture, tourism, entertainment, ICT can produce of what the oil sector gives us if we give, even if it is 50% attention to it, and we'll see that our nation will be a diversely productive economy that will be fully diversified, and nobody will even think whether there is oil or not. Nobody is expecting to make monies from oil when there are other sectors they can make money from.
Thank you, Dr. Emmanuel Idein Shaibu, joining us from Plateau State. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
And that's where we draw the curtains for the program today. Thank you also for investing your time with me on the program. Don't forget you can catch up on all you need to know in the world of Nigeria's economy on all our social media platforms. Also, this is being streamed live, so you would not miss out on the information as they break. My name is Christiana Amodu Otinya. Enjoy the rest of your day.